Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? The slights, hurts, offenses, and wounds that cause people to fight as individuals against each other are the same, with varying degrees of intensity. Slights, hurts, wounds, and offenses that cause leaders to take their countries to war and that lead to the death of thousands of people. This is because pride, humanized in the form of a leader or a figurehead, is still a powerful motivator to revenge. Or, as is said often these days, a reckoning. In our country, in the United States, political reckonings are desired by political enemies on each other, and those reckonings often culminate in material violence. Sometimes the violence comes in the form of protests, sometimes in the form of riots, sometimes in the form of assassinations, all of which have occurred in the United States in the last 20 to 25 years. Slights, hurts, offenses, and wounds, unprocessed in an individual victim's emotional life, become traumas, and traumas must be resolved. The loop must be closed. In the run-up to a conflict, the resolution does not often come quickly or easily. And when all that resolution is attained, it only serves to create or to generate new slights, hurts, offenses, and wounds. We don't learn from the history of this cycle because human memory is fragile and incredibly imprecise. Even in the face of the internet, and in the future, large language algorithms, our collective memory will still be hazy, but our ability to be offended and demand a reckoning for any offenses will be sharp. We don't learn from history. We justify our own mistakes and have the worst possible interpretation of other people's mistakes. We want to be in control, and yet we are always looking for ways to outsource accountability after a reckoning or a revenge seeking. And, of course, we want to outsource that accountability when the outcome of the reckoning or the revenge we sought doesn't result in quite the consequence to the other guy that we were anticipating. We forget that other people are autonomous creatures with agency, will, and ideas much like our own, and also dissimilar. We paint the picture of the best possible outcome of our reactions, and of course, we paint that picture to benefit us. And we fail to pause, take measure of the other party, and sometimes decline to take action. These leaders are some of the many reasons that while we read history, we don't actually learn from history. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. there are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.